welcome to episode 150 of the Collector's Quest podcast. In this episode, I'm talking with Johnny and Stefan about condition of video games. We're talking about label condition, disc rot, whether we put up with certain kinds of damage, whether certain kinds of damage are worth it if you're getting a steep discount, and a little bit on how recently is really the only time that really nice games have started to pull really far away from the pack in terms of prices and kind of what we're doing about that. I can say that none of the three of us are super mint condition guys, so if you're one of those people, you'll probably be disappointed in our opinions on this show. But give us 5 stars in iTunes, sit your mom down, have her listen to the show, and let's go. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler, here with Johnny and Stefan. Welcome back, Stefan. Good to have you with us. How's it going?
Thank you. I missed you.
We missed you too. We love having you on the show. Love editing with you on the show.
I have not yet listened to the Flesh with Plush episode. How was that?
Oh, seamless. You know, it went really well, smooth, in and out. Fastest episode we've had in a long time.
It's a 2-hour-long show, and we talked about 5 plushie games, of which 4 of them were actually featured.
And part of the problem was that we also talked about fractional shares and how stupid that is, and Tyler wanted to talk about that. It was actually like a Tyler rant episode for the first 30 minutes. Not that I disagreed with him, but that's how that
I wanted to give our listeners something interesting besides plushie games. No offense to plushie games, but who cares?
Yeah, and then we also talked about Halloween. I know a topic near and dear to your heart right now.
Oh, yeah.
You and I probably don't see eye to eye on this because, you know, I disagree with you.
Oh, did you see my rant
I saw your
on
post.
Facebook? So are you, is it Halloween as normal for you or?
I don't know if it's Halloween as normal, but I think there's ways to do it. I think adults could walk around in masks and most kids are pretty low risk and, you know, I don't think they should necessarily all be in like large groups, but I think there's a way we could pass out candy if we wanted to, you know, socially distance wise. What I'm really against is trunk or treat. So that's my main gripe. I fucking hate trunk or treat. I think it is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, it's really kind of a non-issue for me anyway, because in the last like 5 years that I've been in this house, I don't think like every year we go and trick or treat at my parents' house in South Pasadena because they're on one of the streets where like kids get bussed in and there's like, you know, 5,000 people on the streets and it's like a spectacle when it's not a pandemic. But I always turn on my Ring doorbell to like see if we actually get anyone. And I've never even seen someone like walk in front of my house in costume, let alone try to ring the doorbell in 5 years. So I don't think it's going to be a problem anyway. But we decided we're basically going to do like a Halloween version of Easter and like hide candy around the house and let the kids it'll be fun.
Yeah, see, like that is more my point. Is not that like I think there's a way to do it, not just like, well, Halloween's canceled, kids. We'll figure it out next year. I just think there are things to do. You could watch scary movies. There are things. I am sad that kids can't like walk around, but like kids are also pretty low target. There's always something in the way of Halloween, you know, in the last like 10 years, this idea that kids are being killed and kidnapped and poisoned, you know, that you always see these horror stories that aren't like real, essentially.
Yeah.
They're all like the same.
Like the syringe under the gas station pump stuff, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The razor blade in the apple. It's like, you still see that story. I'm like, you know, that story has been circulating since like 1981. Yeah, that one story.
Yeah, someone transcribed that into a meme from like a book.
Yeah, and well, it wasn't even real. Like the people, like it's not that Halloween couldn't be dangerous. It's not that adults aren't inherently, you know, there aren't an inherently dangerous group of adults out there for kids. It's just that, you know, if there is some supervision, you know, and large groups of kids, then mostly they've been fine. There's no data that supports that this is the time of year that kids get snatched. Though crime is also a thing mostly of opportunity. So I get the fear. I just, I just wish we didn't live in a world where that had to be true.
Sure.
Because it is my favorite holiday. People had to hear about that at the end of the last episode. Now you get to hear about it again. And then you're going to have to hear Halloween episodes. You poor bastards.
Strap in.
Yeah, strap in, get ready. So you want to collect Halloween games. Coming soon.
Part 7.
I can't wait for Johnny to show off everything he's been buying this year and saving up in preparation for October.
Woo!
I wonder if the churn on our audience has been enough that we could just repost old So You Want to Collect Halloween games and like no one would notice.
I actually went back through all the Halloween episodes and decided which ones are like actually So You Want to Collect episodes. I mean, they're not exactly in the format, but I actually only decided there's only 3 total.
Didn't we do like 4 Halloween episodes one year? Am I
No.
making that up?
No, it's 2. So like the import episode, I haven't decided if it's, so right now I'm in between 2 or 3 because I like the idea that the import one could be its own thing and then do another round of that because I like showing off the imports because there's a lot of excellent Halloween games that are imports.
Yep. We could do like, if you just want extra content, we could do like Let's Plays for Halloween games and just like put that out there.
Sure.
Or like live stream.
Please do.
That'd be fun. Oh, we could. Ooh, I'm set up to do the Virtual Boy on the TV. So like you
should
can come over and we
definitely
could
do that.
play.
Yep.
Yeah, we could play the
Say the
Elder
name.
Scrolls game, or not Elder Scrolls.
No Yakada.
Yes.
No Yakada. Innsmouth.
Yeah, Innsmouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cthulhu game. That's what I was thinking. Elder God, and that's how I got Elder Scrolls.
Yep. That's a lot of talk about what's coming in the future. What are we talking about today? Stefan, it's your episode.
Yeah, it was decided that it was my episode last minute. It's fine. Today we're talking about
Well, hold on. Did you
condition.
pick the episode?
I did pick the episode.
Okay, so it's your episode.
Under duress. I feel like
You weren't here last time, so we figured we'd give you a chance to talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and now, like, look at him throw it back in his face. Ungrateful.
You've
You're an
had
ingrate.
like 3 weeks to prepare for this podcast, and this
Wow,
is what all your
yes.
preparation has led to.
that's absolutely what I do every podcast is I prepare for weeks. That's actually why we
Look,
have
man,
been
I'm not
so
saying it shows,
untimely
but it
with our
shows.
releases is because I just, I focus so much on on research that
I'm not going to
you know,
say that your effort level is definitely reflected in the quality of your hosting, but I'm going to say that, definitely your preparedness and how much you prep before the show shows.
Oh, well, thank you.
No,
Today,
just dick commentary. Johnny, what's wrong? Why are you being so mean?
I know this is not good. Like coming off the heels of like an episode. Oh, I guess we had one in between now that I wasn't part of. So we had this episode where like people were like being like, "What's going on with Johnny? He's really mean to Stefan." And then I'm not on the podcast in the next one.
Yeah. Well, I just want that seamless continuity. Like nothing changed. And I like a lot of people, it was your girlfriend.
It was my girlfriend. My girlfriend did think you were very mean to me.
Your girlfriend was defensive about you?
Yeah, she was like, well, I guess it's okay since like it just felt like that's what you guys do.
She's like,
Does she
I
think
don't
I'm cool,
understand.
Stefan?
And then she was like, she was like, I wanted you to know that I listened to the whole podcast, and that I'm probably not going to do that again.
Oh, really? She didn't love our podcast, huh?
I think she's so far removed away from this hobby that she was just like, she's like, it all goes over my head. Like, she's like, I just listen to you. I listen for like your parts where you talk, and that's fun for me. But like, I get nothing from this content.
Yeah, it's very much an insider kind of podcast. It's very niche. If you this isn't for you, we totally get it. So don't worry. We're not offended if you don't listen to us. That's totally reasonable.
Speaking of niche portions of this hobby, today let's talk about condition, gentlemen.
Ooh, what about it? What are we talking about? Conditions?
Is that a niche portion?
What's that?
No,
Is
I
that
don't
a
think
niche
that's
portion?
No,
that's
I
one
think
of
that's,
Dennis's 4 R's. However, he turned it into an R. I don't know.
It's
Ron
relevance,
rendition.
recondition.
Recondition. That's it.
All right, we did get we have now met our quota for digs on Dennis per episode.
I hate that he doesn't listen to the show and he's not going to hear us razzing on his R's.
Razzing is one of our R's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's niche because I think there's certainly a demographic within this hobby that cares a lot about condition, and then another demographic that does not.
See, I disagree with you. I think, especially for the, I think there are people who buy games that don't give a shit about condition, like gamers. But I think the portion of the hobby that we speak to, like the collector portion, I think they do. And I think like condition is, it's always been king. I don't think it was as prevalent before. Like stuff just kind of got a pass. It's like, was either complete in box or it was cart. And it's like, oh, this one's a really nice one. So, whatever, it gets a premium. But now and that's why we're talking about it, right? Is because now we are in the weeds on condition. Now we are, now we're looking at 9.6 A++ versus 9.2, or was 9.6 A+ versus a 9.2 A++, and which is better?
Yeah, and thousands of dollars representing that that gap.
Like the
right?
gulf.
That's the crazy part. Is like it's just like, well, I think it's like anything. The higher in quality you get, the smaller the steps are. Right at the very top end, like an 80-inch television versus an 85-inch television is god awfully more expensive versus like the difference between a 65 or a 60-inch and a 65-inch television is much less, right? Everything, I think it kind of follows a trend of anything.
Yeah, I mean, the old advice would just be buy the best condition you could afford, and I still think that pretty much stands. If you were looking at it as an investment, that I don't know if it still stands. Well, I guess it does. The best condition you can afford, but now that condition could be a 6.
Right.
I mean, the best part about literally any time except for the past 2 years is there's like almost no premium for good condition stuff. Like, if there was a bad condition box and it was a $200 game, you would see the bad condition box and it'd be listed for like $185, and it's like, who would buy that? It doesn't make any sense. But now, instead of bad condition games being worse, you have the 9 out of 10 and 9.5 out of 10s are $400 and $500 now, which I've always kind of remarked, like, it doesn't make sense that there's like the way price tracking sites work, they don't track condition, it's just kind of an average, and price tracking sites have driven the way people think about games for the past 10 years, I'll say. It's been a ripe field. I need an analogy here, but you could just get basically nice condition games for very small premiums, and that is starting to change, and it's sad.
Yeah, that's pretty much over, I think. Well,
but do you think that is because this something that we talked about before we started recording was how kind of insular the high-end demographic is for this hobby, right? And do you think that's why that's over? Because like they are now, instead of using sites like price charting, they're using each other. Like they're like it feels like they're driving the premiums within this like insular community. And I don't know that they're even like, I don't know that those people are even looking at like historical average.
Like Game Value Now is starting to have condition and like graded prices. They're definitely checking heritage completes. So they're checking prices, but they're not necessarily checking like video game price charting, or just Game Value Now anymore. So I think there's more sources. I think, part of the problem, part of the shift is that these investors have gotten here, and if you are looking for super nice condition stuff, that's the stuff they're after. Like if you are a person who just wanted all of your stuff to be relatively nice, well, it's not like they're going to buy, the one that is like the mintiest one there. If there are 2 in similar conditions, you can guarantee both of those are gone. Like that same person might buy both of them if it's a good deal.
Yeah, that's happening a lot.
It's, which is the problem with investors, right? Which is, if you go back to the old gamer versus collector when that was the battle. Now there's three segments. Now it's like gamers versus collectors versus investors, and I don't know if gamers even know the difference between collectors and investors. I think they probably homogenize that group, but now collectors are like, hey man, I just want a boxed Metroid first print because that's like the original one. And these guys are like, but that was a 9.6, so that'll be $10,000 if it's sealed.
Oh no, WATA doesn't grade Famicom Disk System games, Johnny.
No. This is the original Nintendo game. Famicom is a Famicom game, so you know what I mean, like NES, like the original NES, the ones that matter.
Well, I'm trying to think of a retort, but I don't have one. I'm sorry,
because that's
I'd love
true.
to keep our banter going.
Yeah, no.
So.
But Tyler, you say that, but even that, like, I've seen you start to talk about premiums on Famicom Disk System games starting to happen, right?
Have I talked about that? I've been picking up stuff real cheap. At least all the stuff I'm mentioning. Like, I already have all the Nintendo stuff, so I don't really care about that anymore. So everything else I need is stuff that no one will ever care about. But what have I said? Like, I just got Zelda.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like some of the Marios, like the original Mario prints and stuff are now starting to go for more money.
No.
No? Okay.
Not at all.
I thought so. That's
Okay,
what you were
wait.
me.
There was. All right, I can give one story. This isn't really related to the episode. There was a $2,000 VGA graded Super Mario Brothers on Famicom that's sold on eBay. I'm not sure if it's the exact same one, but another one has popped up for $20,000. And to be clear, the Super Mario Brothers on Famicom, they were never sealed. So this is like the theoretically unopened complete in box game. And it's a second print that they have. It's actually a later print, but who cares? Listed as $20,000. So they're going for the angle that this is the true first print, but they don't have the true first print. It's very strange.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking. This is the thing I was talking about that you put in our thread, and the one with the last print, the little F, the double Fs on it.
Oh yeah, someone on Video Game Stage. So I knew about two Famicom Mario variants. There's one with the UPC on the back and one without the UPC on the back. And most of them have the UPC on the back. But then I learned about a third print which has a little Famicom logo in the bottom right of the box, and that's apparently a later release. And that little Famicom logo is really cute. So I bought one of those. There you go. What are you buying? Yeah. I bought one of those things. Guess how much I paid? I paid $20 plus whatever the proxy shipping is going to be. So those are not going up in value.
Okay. All right. So, Tyler, do you have any further thoughts on, the insularity of the high end versus, the casuals and condition?
I mean, when people are talking about the high end stuff, like one of the things that's going around Instagram is some Super Mario Brothers 3. Of course, Super Mario Brothers 3 sold for some ridiculous thousands of dollars, complete in box. Like, that's the stuff that you see going for ridiculous prices. You're going to see some Legend of Zelda. You're going to see a Punch-Out. You're going to see a Contra sell for some stupid price in some really nice complete in box condition. But I could tell you, I just bought a mint complete FIFA International Soccer on Sega Genesis to get a POG upgrade on that title. And it cost me probably double what the guy spent to ship it. So if you're staying out of that, AAA Nintendo range, I don't think that you're in this kind of hellscape where condition has all become like the be all end all, and now prices are 10 times as high for the super nice, the mutant virus.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to get at, where I wanted to take this a little bit, because I know as despite the fact that we do have people that do kind of play in that high end that listen to this podcast, I sure would like to also talk to the listener who is maybe just getting into the hobby, or which is probably not very many people that are listening to this podcast, but people that sort of have just kind of decided that sealed graded is not for them, or even just graded, or high, they don't want to function in that sort of echelon of this hobby. So for those people, does your advice to them as far as condition change? If they've decided that they aren't going to be the person who's going to care about the difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8, for those people, do we still say that this, buy the best condition item that you can if you're not going to play in that market?
I mean, buy what makes you happy. You don't have to think about the value of your thing long term. I feel like it's so unlikely.
Whoa, Tyler. Whoa.
I know, Johnny. I know.
Whoa.
That's a crazy sentiment.
This is a hobby? I'm not supposed to be a profiteer?
Johnny,
I'll cut your fucking throat, Tyler. I'm
Johnny,
making that money.
You didn't tell me that while I was gone, you replaced our co-host.
I don't know what that was. I'm sorry. I collect for the fun of it. So, I spend what I can afford to lose, which has kind of always been my advice. But that is, man, if some of these guys can afford to lose what they are spending, they are doing so much better than me, and more power to them.
Yeah, they're like dentists and shit.
Yeah, I'm a professional. I have, you're a professional. We have, we do okay, but I'm not spending $75,000 on a video game. And if I did, if it became a zero, I would be very sad about it.
That's right.
I would feel objectively very sad. Whereas right now, my $200 game becomes a $5 game. I'm just like, well, I guess that kind of sucks, but I still got this game and it's not going anywhere. So whatever, that doesn't hurt my feelings because I wanted it for my collection anyways. The value, the monetary loss doesn't matter if it's not really for sale. I mean, all of my stuff is for sale, as you know, but I'm not actively selling it. I didn't buy it to sell it. So I didn't lose anything by it losing value. I have already spent the money. It's gone. It doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and to the people that Stefan is theoretically talking about that may or may not be listening to the show, I don't know if they are. I think you already know if you're one of these people who conditional rarity is everything. And I would guess if you're in that group, you're probably not one of these people who are like, oh my God, one of the inner flaps of my Mario 3 box has a dent on it. It is now garbage because I will never be able to get a high grade on it. Like most of us... I would bet 90% of people listening to the show, they buy a nice condition game and they look at it and they're like, is the edge of the box that's going to face out on the shelf, does that look pretty good? Because if it looks good, then I could put it on my shelf, forget about it forever, and it'll look nice on my shelf. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I'm at with most of my games. I try to get nice stuff, especially kind of in the same realm. That first party Nintendo stuff, I'd really like to have a nice Chrono Trigger, a nice Super Mario Brothers 3. While I'm putting in editor's notes, I know Chrono Trigger's not a first party Nintendo title. You know what I mean? The nice stuff. Don't send me messages. Thankfully, I have all that before the crazy stuff now started. But for for the Mutant Virus is my favorite example just because I hate it. It's a horrible game. The Mutant Virus, if that left edge of the box looks nice, I could stick it on my shelf and forget about it.
When I was putting together my Super Nintendo set, which was the first set that I did, and I was mainly going cart only unless I cared about the game, and then I would buy it CIB. But I was obsessed with whatever the condition of the top of the label that faced out when they were sitting on the shelf. That's all I cared about. So I eventually did replace a couple things, but a couple games that I bought, the top label was minty where the title was, and then the front of the actual label was just completely effed, right? And just tore off. I think my Batman Forever was almost missing the entire label, and when I bought that, it was the delta on price was enough that I was I don't care what the front of that label is. I'm never gonna play it.
You see, I can't deal with that. Cardboard boxes are kind of the exception because by and large in video game collecting, they're the thing that everyone threw out, everyone crushed. They have the most condition problems. But carts, there are millions of cartridges. There are millions of Sega Genesis cases. There are millions of Sega Saturn cases. So it is so easy to find those in at least decent condition.
I think I disagree with you about Saturn cases, but...
Well, all right. I mean...
In decent condition, there are millions of them.
The inserts of Saturn cases, I guess.
Okay. And
even them, those are the worst condition paper. But
yep. I'm this is not a great example. You want to move on to something else?
It's still easier to find a 9 out of 10 condition random Saturn game than it is probably to find a random 9 out of 10 condition NES game.
Probably. Yeah, and I was just kidding with you about Saturn just because that system, those cases, and the idea of that was so dumb. Why is the CD tray so big? And why is the manual so long? And why aren't there more things keeping that manual held down.
So they designed it and they're like, we're going to put a foam block in some of these cases. And they're like, this is good design. We did it, guys. We should keep using this case design.
Well, no, the foam block came afterward. They're like, oh, shit. It kind of sags in the middle because it's so long. What should we do?
They're probably like sitting on the shelves for days. And it was like, oh man, these games look like garbage. You could tell which games nobody wanted to buy.
Yeah, they're like, should we put like a hard piece of like cardboard behind this thing to keep that manual in there nice? Like we could just put something in there that like covers the whole thing and protects the disc. Or we could just toss this foam block to make sure it bows in the middle.
What a piece of garbage.
Yeah, there's not a great way, but I do tell people with our Saturn cases, if you lay them down lengthwise on the, like with the manual face down and then rotate the case, the backside will still have the spine letters up so you could display it. I don't like stacking games like that because it's a pain in the ass to grab them. But I think if you were trying to keep your Saturn games in the best possible condition, that would be the way to do it. So disc precariously, dangling or resting upon that foam block and manual face down.
Nope. Not going to do it, Johnny. We've discussed this before. My life is too short. I want my Saturn games to look like video games on a shelf.
I mean, they still would look like video games on a shelf.
Not weird stacked video games on a shelf.
I mean, there are many.
And even if I did that for the bulk of things, like my good stuff is on its own shelf displayed, I'm not going to display them sitting face down in a stack.
But you won't know they're face down because if you rotate it, the spine is.
But my good stuff is facing manual out because I got to show off my Daytona and my Panzer Dragoon Saga, Johnny. They're the coolest thing on that shelf.
The actual worst thing you can do on Saturn and Sega CD games and long box PS1 games is put them in one of those like book displays, which puts it at an angle. So then your manual is just really getting hammered.
Mm-hmm. Wait, one of those book displays.
Yeah, like, those, like, that it's just like so you have it displayed at a slight angle.
Oh, so basically, it's like facing upwards, so the manual is like falling. It's like, yeah. I guess that would be the worst thing you could do. I've never seen anyone do that, so. I mean,
you do it in like half your Instagram pictures.
Oh, yeah.
But if you were like, because those are usually on display shelves, for not necessarily for games, but that would be the worst thing you could do. Don't do that. There's your condition tip. Don't do that. But okay, so a lot of what we're talking about in the micro condition upgrades is really driven by the sealed market. But how do we feel about like CIBs? Is there a huge gulf on prices? And you guys are a little more in tune to this than I am. On like say a 9 or like a 9.4. Like, does that even happen on open stuff? Like, CIB, is it like, what's the difference between an 8 and like a 9? Is that,
I have no
is there
idea,
a big
John.
Price premium?
Well, I don't even know what manual grades look like, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on it. Well, it's proven itself to depend greatly on the title, like the Left Bros Mario 3 post of today. I think that there's, well, and I think the more, because we've talked about it a bunch of times how there's just not enough sealed games to satiate demand, and I think that it will become more and more of an issue as these people who were looking to buy sealed games and just can't continue to buy up the CIB supply, and then it'll be just like essentially like, oh, there's no more sealed games, so now the CIB market is just like the
the sealed games don't disappear, and neither do the CIB games. No games disappear. They just go to people who want to flip them like immediately 6 months later, and then they're back in the market again.
Yeah, I mean, actually, sealed games have never been more available for purchase.
That's certainly true.
Let's see. I want everybody watch. I'm getting off Stefan's topic. I'm so sorry for the tangent. The Oval Seal Mario that just sold for $84,000, super rare sealed Mario. I want to check every single signature heritage auction going forward until the end of time. Tell me how many sealed Oval Seal Marios show up from now till the end of time. All right, Stefan, continue with your point.
Is this a note for like Tyler of the future?
No, it's a note for everybody. Because all this one-of-a-kind amazing stuff seems to appear every single signature auction. It's amazing.
No, but I've also noticed like the people who are collecting at the high end are starting to try to like use that angle to hype up CIB. Like the statement that I've been seeing a lot is that it's more difficult to find a 9.6 CIB game than it is to find a 9.6
that just
sealed
goes back
game,
to that
and that
classic
somehow
argument. Is a 9.6 A plus better than a 9.8 A plus, right? Or an
Right.
A plus.
But
That
it's just
classic
crazy to me
argument.
and it's just crazy to me that people are now trying to say that it's making it. They're trying to make a case for CIB being more desirable than sealed because it's more difficult to find in a high grade.
Yeah, I think that's all hogwash.
Sure, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah,
but it's still happening.
Yeah. Oh no. I know the people who are making those arguments, and like, guys, it's hogwash. You know why? Because if you're going to tell me I should pay a premium for this opened item versus the same condition sealed one, I'll just take the sealed one because it's sealed, and that will eventually hold the premium. Get the F out of here if you think I'm going to pay you sealed money because, well, this one is a really rare. Like, you don't find this one open in this condition. Well,
yeah, no, I think they're just.
I know what they're doing.
Sure.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, they're trying to prep the market ahead of time for when there's no sealed supply, and then they can say, oh well, CIB was more important anyway, or more difficult to find anyway.
All right. Also, another mental note: Tyler, come back to this episode when there's no sealed supply. Let me know when that supply runs out, and all these people are just going to keep the game forever. They're all forever collectors. No one's looking to flip these ever. So,
yeah, well, that's the thing. Because they're investors, that's what I mean. There's sealed games have never been more available than they are right now. Because these people, they're not me. They're not you, Tyler. They're not Stefan. This is for sale. That is its primary function. Its function is to be valuable, right? Mm-hmm. And to make money. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. There are investors in lots of different things. It's in all the big hobbies. It was bound to happen. But, someone like me, that's not where my value lives, right? That's not if I was hoarding all the sealed games, that would be a problem because, you would have to pay me an absorbent amount of money to pry them out of my hands, right? Even worse, all the sealed games that go into Tyler's home, those things are dead. They're in a coffin. They're being buried with him. They're never coming back. You might as well delete, you can put out your population report, but you might as well just delete that one because it no longer exists. And with most of these collectors, that isn't the issue, right? Those ones are just going to keep rotating through the market. I've told you it's a big, what's a nice way to say this phrase? It is as if something is going in a circle and these jerks are, just passing it amongst themselves. If you see what I am trying to get.
These jerks are passing them among themselves in a circle?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I got that right.
Yes, that is correct. You nailed it. Thank you for explaining.
Some kind of belligerent
I don't know an alternate phrase for that, Johnny. I'm sorry. I'm coming up. It's not coming to me.
I'm tired. It's been a long day. I don't have the vocabulary to assist me at this moment. From what I would just normally say, I'm trying to be a little family friendlier, even though I've dropped at least 6 F-bombs upon this episode. And, it's weird when I learn that kids listen to this show, when they send me messages saying, hey, I love your podcast. I'm 13. I'm sorry. And then, I got that, and I got a 13 and a 14-year-old within 2 days. And for you kids, what I'm saying about condition, don't worry about. Guys, just buy carts.
Were they asking you to evaluate their Sticker Seal Mario?
No, they were like, I love your podcast, and we love collecting games. I was like, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys collect games. That is sweet. I hope it's I would say PlayStation 2, but now that's bad. I hope it's PlayStation 3. Something affordable.
No, they want the good stuff, Johnny.
They do.
These are the wrong generation kids who are like, I should have grown up with NES. Super Mario Brothers 3 is the coolest.
Yeah, these are the Dennises of today.
Yeah, I did see one time I saw at Portland, I saw this 8-year-old carrying around a TRS-80 that he was super jazzed that he bought. And he's like, I'm going to go play Zork. I'm like, what? Where did this kid come from?
Yeah, wow, did I don't know, some 38-year-old nerd in 1988 die and just came back in your body? What happened?
It's big. Yeah.
So
it's funny. I have a pointed question for you, or it's not pointed, just a directed question. I wanted to ask you guys if there were any circumstances in which you prefer poor condition games. And the reason why I wrote that down is because for me, that was when I was collecting my loose sets of Super Nintendo and NES. And at that point, there was a lot. I don't know if there's a lot of talk about fake games anymore as there were when I seemed to be putting that set together, because there is so much like authenticity checking now, and there wasn't necessarily that back then, but I almost preferred, for the really high end as far as like rarity is concerned, games like Samson or I don't know, Pocky and Rocky 2 for the Super Nintendo, like that sort of like $100 and up game. I sometimes enjoyed like mom and pop rental stickers or like kids' names or stuff like that, just to like lend a little bit of like faith. And I don't know if it was just me like being naive or not, but like thinking that a little bit of damage sort of proved out that it wasn't a fake game. So I would look for high-end games that were not completely effed, but like not pristine either, like suspiciously clean.
You get like a 7 instead of a 9.2.
Yeah. But like that was my wheelhouse. Like I was specifically going for like those medium condition examples of those games because I was so terrified that I was going to buy a fake. And possibly that was a lot to do with the fact that I was so new to collecting at the time, because I just like sort of dove into set collecting. And so I was buying up a lot of stuff and without maybe that kind of background on how to identify fake games. And so like I think I was so terrified that I was going to buy something fake that I was looking for that like loved look, because it made me feel better about my purchase.
Sure. Tyler, go ahead. What, like, I think I know Tyler's answer, but I'm curious what he says.
So when I buy something super fancy, like my Star Fox Super Weekend, it has a mark on it. It's like an indentation, almost like someone basically made a check mark using it as a clipboard. Thanks to whoever did that. So I got that, and it's like, oh, this is basically it's you can't even see it unless you hold it reflecting to the light. But it's basically f***ed up in a way that it's like, oh, okay, it's definitely real. But given the option, I would rather just have the real nice one. Like I would have been able to look at it once I had it in person and tell that it's real. So it gives me comfort when I see it, but it is certainly not something that I look for. And at rental labels and Sharpies, get rid of all of that garbage. No, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm a little different. Because I think, well, compared to Tyler, I'm not sure between you and I, Stefan, but I am the least condition sensitive, I think, on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Because, well, I mean, for a number of factors, and you have this question about like checking boxes that'll come up in a second, but I don't like, because this is going into my hobby and I want to own things, and like Tyler talked about a little bit, the stuff that is like super important to me, I like to have a nice copy, but it doesn't even need to be like gem mint or anything. It doesn't need, like, I thought very briefly about buying a few games sealed, just very briefly, and then like looked at the price and still, even though there are my absolute childhood favorites, and still was like, this isn't worth that to me. This isn't worth that kind of money. That's ridiculous. So like, nice is fine. I do like rental stickers, as long as it's not like a horrible one. Like if it's on the side of the cart, I hate when it's like plastered over in the middle, but I didn't hate when like, you get a manual and it's got like a rental sticker on the inside or on the cover. I'm not that like, oh God, gotta fix this about it. I kind of like them, seeing where things came from, like seeing all the names of like 80s video stores that no longer exist. I would pay extra money if I could find like a game from the rental store that I went to as a kid. Like Wizard,
I was
Video.
talking about this tonight.
Yeah, like if I could get something from Wizard Video, which Stefan, where you live, like that like where there's a like oil change place, like kind of right when you come out in that like really kind of shady looking liquor store. Mm-hmm. Well, in front of that oil change where like the hair salon is, there used to be a place called Abe's Deli. It was like a cool Middle Eastern guy who used to make me sandwiches. But there was a place called Video Wizard. And I used to rent my games there. And they had like weird, obscure games because it wasn't like Blockbuster. They just got whatever, you know, and this was like during the Nintendo and Super Nintendo era. So I got lots of weird stuff from that. So I would pay a premium for a Video Wizard sticker on something from Simi Valley.
Yeah, I absolutely would. Just to throw that out there, since we're talking about it, my stores were Star Video and Video Row in South Pasadena, California. So if anyone does happen to come across that label, I too would pay a premium for one of those games.
My store was Hollywood Video, and I want none of that.
Yeah. Well, I have another one. So, Stefan, where the Vons is, in the corner where like Subway is, that like very corner used to be something called Alamo Video, and I actually bought out their stock at one point of empty boxes. So I have like N64 boxes with their stickers. But
the
Video
Alamo
Wizard,
collection.
Yeah, but Video Wizard
That
is
pedigree.
the one I want. So
I like how we're squarely canvassing our Simi Valley listener demographic.
yeah,
tonight.
like, hey, check those
you know
rental
where the
stickers on
Vons
your games.
is?
Yeah, is that a $50 game you got for sale? How about $100 if it's got the right sticker? Yeah, no, it's like I like that kind of stuff. I don't love when I like see a kid's name like, okay, Chris Miller, cool. I'm glad you owned this Nintendo card. Who gives a shit? That I don't like. Like I, for some reason, would rather have a rental sticker on it than some kid's name written down. I'm like, I don't fucking care about you. Get out of here.
There's a couple that I have that are just like if it's charming, like if the kid wrote it themselves. Like I have a few cartridges on the Super from a girl named Genevieve, and it's clear like with a backwards G, and it's clearly like she wrote her own name on these games, and I think that's kind of charming. But I guess it's conditional for me.
Yeah,
not to.
Yeah, that stuff isn't for me. But yeah, like I used to do the same thing you did. Like I would buy something a little less nice, and also because I didn't care about it being super nice, like if there was a condition premium, which you know back then there wasn't. Yeah, like if it's a $200 game and I get it for $180 or $175, and it's like it's not horrible or something, it's like, well, you know, I'm like, especially back in the day, I was trying to amass. You know, it's a numbers game. You know, I can't be condition sensitive on everything because, and like I could have been, but not if I want to amass this quantity, right? I am never going to have the amount of money that I would like to have in which to buy everything I own in mint or sealed condition. That is just unrealistic for the, you know, 10, 11,000 games I have in this house. So, and I knew that was like something I was striving for even when I was at like 2,000 games. You know, or 1,000 games. So it was always like, all right, Johnny, it's, you know, the quantity versus quality argument. We're looking at quantity in most situations. So do what you can for quantity. Not that I'm saying I recommend that, but that's definitely how I was doing it.
No, and I'm still there with you, and that has kind of followed me throughout my entire collecting life, because if you look back at my copy of, Classic Series Zelda 2 is one I could think of. My Contra's not great. The games I bought in the mid-2000s are generally pretty shitty because I went and I bought the $35 copy of Contra, and now it's basically too late to upgrade them. Like, I've already checked that box. I have a Contra. I do love Contra. It would be nice to upgrade it, but I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars to upgrade my Contra box. That's ridiculous. When, like you, I'm always looking forward to the next thing. It's like, that box is checked. I can put it out of my mind. I can go, what am I working on right now? Yeah,
and I'm totally with you there. Like, a lot of my newer stuff is all like nice. You know, like my condition preference is like much nicer now than it was in 2007. You know,
I've kind of moved past my mistakes. And it's like, all right, starting now, Tyler, you have standards. You're an adult now. You have a job. Stop buying this garbage. Just buy 8 out of 10 stuff going forward or better, and we'll fix this. But we got quantity. We got to make up quantity. We have to own every video game. That's what the squirrels in your head are telling you.
Do you think that would have still been the case, like as your collection journey matured, that your tastes got, I don't know if refined is the right word, but sure. Do you think if the market wasn't pushing for condition up, you know, like high-end condition, do you think you would still feel that way, or like just because you are maturing as a person, or do you think the market is sort of driving you in that direction too?
No, I think I would still feel this way. Like definitely market pressures, push collectors in a direction. Like the market flows and collectors flow in that direction.
Yeah, because like I didn't give a fuck about that's gonna be a really long bleep. I really didn't care about sealed at all, until this last couple of years, and now I still like don't collect. I quote unquote don't collect sealed, but I have like a small selection of things that I like that I wanted to get sealed, and that was 100% put the market pushing me that way.
Yeah, see, and I don't I still don't really buy sealed. I have stuff that like incidentally I get sealed, but I still don't push for that. But I did get to the point where, also the amount of money I have has increased. My bills have also increased, with it. But my, especially before I had JD, my son, I was like, okay, well, I can afford to do a little better than this ripped box. Okay. So sorry, what is it? The Cryon Quest or whatever. Let me get a box that isn't ripped in half, because I got that's the other thing. Like back in the day, you could legitimately buy lots, and I hear all those people, I buy lots, and they like show 40 Wata sealed games, and like I bought all these, or like I bought this guy's mint collection. Yeah, I'm not talking about going out and spending $10,000 or $20,000 on some dude who's getting out of collecting because the hobby's insane right now. I'm talking neighborhood lots and eBay. Here's like 100 Nintendo games, or I'm at the flea market and I can buy all these games for $300 or one of them for $10. And I'm just like, I'll take them all. And these 10 check a box because I collect for sets. Like that. That's the other reason that condition was less prevalent, because it was like, but now I'm at a point where I'm buying, like, really, I buy individual games,
Yeah.
But if I buy a lot, like you've been with me when I've bought a lot of games, like in Portland, when I bought like 200 or 300 Wii games or something.
Yeah.
I was not agonizing over condition. Okay. I was just like, who gives a shit about this Wii Play game? Like, whatever it is, Wii Spies, Wii Medieval, whatever it is. And I'm like, I don't like,
you don't take the GameStop stickers off your Wii games, Johnny. That drives me crazy. Respect your games.
Those stickers, like those games aren't worth the amount of time, especially since they aren't displayed to take those stickers off.
Every game is
like,
worth your time.
Yeah, let me like spend an hour of my time getting a fucking Blockbuster sticker off of a $2 Wii game.
It's a hobby. This is what the hobby is, Stefan.
No,
we take care of and curate our collections.
The hobby is checking the box.
God damn it.
The box
that happens to have a big sticker on it.
Yeah. You don't understand. Your squirrels are telling you something else, and mine are like, we got more nuts to gather. This idiot's over there scrubbing stickers, and I'm over here researching.
Yeah, all the deals that I missed in the time that I was scrubbing that sticker off. Well, so we talked. I think we kind of already covered it because we're going to talk specifically about do bad condition items check the box, or if is it worth buying into a bad condition item to check a box for collection. And I think we've kind of already talked about that organically, but did anybody specifically want to talk to that?
Tyler?
I'm trying to think. I would say no, but then I'm looking around to see what have my actions said about this.
Do I listen to my own advice?
Do I listen to my own advice? I would say no in any case is the best answer to pick. But I did want a Castlevania hang tab, and I don't have an unpunched Castlevania hang tab. I think I have 3 Castlevania hang tabs right now, and all of them are punched, and that makes me sad. It would be better to probably sell them all and buy one nice one, but that involves selling games, which I won't do. So
I told you, anything that goes into Tyler's collection, delete it from the population report. It does not exist.
I mean, like, if I was buying an NWC or New Leaf or something like that, I would probably settle for, like, acceptable condition, like a 5 or 6 out of 10, maybe, but I still wouldn't go completely wrecked on those.
Well, and that's, I disagree with you there. So if something you're going to find, like, a once in a lifetime find, I'm not going to suddenly turn my nose up and get snobby. I'm like, well, this label is not a 9, and that's really not my preference. I think I'll pass. Come back when you have something of value, won't you? No, it's not what I'm doing. If like the Sega Championship card I have, right? The Blockbuster Championship card. Mm-hmm. That label is not great, but you just don't see a lot of them. So I wasn't going to be like, well, I guess I'll wait, because especially in this hobby where prices can grow exponentially overnight, that seems insane to me. So in some ways, the rarity of an item, and there's very few games that fall into this category, but the rarity of the item also dictates what my level of acceptedness for condition is. Also, the level of the deal also dictates how condition sensitive I am and like whether it checks that box. So for instance, I just bought this game and I just posted on Insta. It's Colin McRae Rally 2.0 for the GBA. It's hard to find on the PS1 for some reason. I think it's kind of expensive on the Xbox. It's really hard to find on the GBA. It is a cross-platform generic race game. I don't understand race games, and I don't understand the mind of the people who collect them, but there's a dedicated following. So race game fanatics, forgive me, I don't know what the hell drives these in their prices, but a lot of them get very expensive. This game was like, suddenly went from like $100 game to a $600 game overnight. Like, because not, I say overnight, but none had sold in like a year and a half. And then the one that sold went for 600. And then the next one went for 700, and then a private sale for another 700. So it was just like,
Game Boy people are weird, Johnny.
Well, this is GBA. It's not even like
Game counts Boy. As weird Game Boy people.
Okay. So, and that's fine. You. Yeah. And that's fine. But when this one came up with a really shitty box, the manual was pretty nice and the cart was pretty nice. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll throw it a bid, at like what cart would be. Like, there was literally a manual on eBay for $250 and carts are going for like $60. I won the auction for like $36 and $4 shipping. So the box was trashed. I put it in a box protector. It looks all right. That's checking the box for me, because that's like the level of deal there is so ridiculous. Sure. Like, I that's a game like I would consider like maybe flipping. And then like if let's say I got like 400, maybe then I want to pay 200 to get the upgrade. Like, that's something I would consider doing. But that's the other big part of this, right? If the deal is too good, then the condition, like what I care about the condition, also goes down. I'm not, like I said, turning my nose up and passing on a deal because it doesn't meet my my rigid standards, which aren't very rigid.
I think I'm similar to you too, Johnny, in that not so much the deal portion, but the when you start talking about like the top 1% in a set, like my like bad condition games checking boxes is really pertains to building out sets. I think maybe if I was buying like a one-off game for just like if I wanted, I don't know, Night Trap for the Sega CD. I don't collect Sega CD as a set, but like if I wanted that, then maybe like I'd be a bigger stickler on condition
absolutely.
If I just like wanted a specific game. But when you're talking about building out a set, like I definitely reconsider my standards when we get into the stadium events or get into the Magical Chase. And in fact, Magical Chase is a perfect example, because until I sold it to a friend of mine,
you're a swell guy. I love you.
My turbo set was complete, or almost complete, right? I said I had a CIC, complete in case set, except that Stadium Events was missing its manual. Not Stadium Events, I'm sorry. Magical Chase was missing its manual. And I was okay with that. That checked my box. Like, I decided that I wasn't going to pay the whatever, like $4,000 or $5,000 premium at the time that it would have been to buy that game complete, or whatever the $2,000 it was going to cost me for the effing manual. That I was okay with just having the card for that particular game because it was that 1%. And I just felt like the delta that I would have to pay would be better invested in something else entirely different somewhere else in the collection, right? Because at the time, for whatever it would have cost me for a manual for Magical Chase, I could have gotten a cart for Outback Joey, right? Like, and that made more sense to me in my head.
And that's a different trade-off, I think, than just condition, because I don't have a Heartbeat personal trainer complete in box, because the money it would cost for me to complete Outback Joey, I'd rather spend somewhere else. But
exactly.
In the same sense, even for just the Outback Joey cart, the condition would be important to me, because if I'm spending ridiculous money on an Outback Joey, I want that to be a showpiece in my collection. I don't want the Mario NWC cart that looks like that has a completely ripped off label and someone wrote Mario with pen on it and it just looks like trash. Because that I want to feel good about spending the crazy money, basically.
Yeah, but let's say if the gulf there, right, is I can spend $1,000 on this, or I can spend $10,000 on this. For $1,000, you're not going to pick up that copy when it's like normally a $10,000 game.
It's like, yeah, in that case, sure. But if it's a case
you were saying there was a point where you like just talking about that specific game, right? The Mario and NWC cart. I mean, there was a time in which that thing was trading for that particular game was trading for like 5,000, where like the rest of them on average condition one was trading for like 25,000. So yeah, there's definitely that delta to consider when you're talking about
in the
like,
case of that. If I was really in the market for Nintendo World Championships, which I never will be, I would probably pass on in that $5,000 one. I would save up for the nice one that I can feel good about, because spending $5,000 on trash is not something that would make me feel good. Even if it was there's no box to check with Nintendo World Championships. You just join the elite club of people who have Nintendo World Championships. True.
But like, and getting into a, where I think I, fall off from you there is like, I agree with your logic. That's sound, except I think that from an investment standpoint, like if I pay $5,000 for this now, can I get $10,000 for it later? Is that a thing that can happen? Am I missing an opportunity here? And I don't sell very many games, but on something like that, is that a question you have to ask yourself? I mean, not you.
If you're going for future value, I think the best condition thing will always be the best thing to buy.
Yes, but if that's out of your range.
Even in crazy times, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if like the very, very high end, like the 0.1% of like headline sales are good investments, but still best condition.
I mean, we're talking about super niche scenarios. My example with the Colin McRae, that's like, but that's a huge gulf, right? And the other part of that equation is,
I probably would have bought that too, because that's no one is. That's not a showpiece game. You're going to throw that in a box and never think about it again.
Exactly. That was a big factor, right? Now, I waited a long time to get Kid Dracula. I bought a nice Kid Dracula when I finally found one, and I got it for a great deal when I did it.
Fantastic deal. Waiting was the right move, Johnny.
It
didn't increase tenfold in price.
I got it for $250, and this was back in like 2017. So I did okay, I think. Or 2018. I'll have to look at my list.
Okay.
But
I mean, you certainly did now if you bought anything in 2017. Well, not anything, but.
Not anything.
Coronavirus. Yeah, whatever. You bought anything in 2017, you're doing great.
Yeah, doing great. PS2 games, you're a genius.
Yeah.
But I waited, but there wasn't like, it wasn't like I was passing up on them. The ones I passed up on were like, really, they were trash. They were like really bad condition ones. And I wanted, it's part of my Castlevania collection. So I wanted it to be a little nicer. So
yeah, that's actually a perfect segue into something that I wanted to talk about. As far as like rock bottom requirements on condition, like is there, and maybe not even necessarily like for your own collections, but like things that we should impart, like things about a game that could be such a large red flag that like under any condition, here's a condition related thing that you should absolutely walk away from. Do you guys have any of those that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to ask your guys' opinion on this. Okay. Perfect for, Nintendo games. Box is super nice, missing an inside flap.
Nope.
Yay or nay?
Nope. Don't want it.
I mean,
I have a super nice first print Zelda that has no inside flap. And so when we were going through the gold rush of everyone looking through all their games and be like, oh, what do I have that's a first print? That was one of the ones I found. I saw it didn't have an inside flap. I immediately went to Forgotten Freshness. I'm like, get me a better conditioned Zelda. I need to have this better thing in my collection.
So for me on this particular thing, the inside flap, I have a little bit of a requirement on it. It's whether or not, because some of those inside flap tears, if they're torn off, they are the box is frayed to the point that you can tell when it's displayed on its edge. You can tell that flap is missing. If I can tell that flap is missing from looking at it like edgewise on a shelf, then I'm not into that. But if I can't tell that flap is missing, I generally don't care.
Okay, so my rule is same as you, Stefan. Like, as long as I can't tell from the outside, if the tear does not extend into the side of the box, one flap, fine. Two flaps, no effing way. Because then the top of the box doesn't close right anymore. Like, one flap will still kind of, like, it
kind of like tilts up.
Yeah, like I don't want, like, it is still part of me. Like, when I find a game that has missing flap, I'm like, let's mark this as a potential upgrade candidate, especially if I care about the game. But if it's missing both flaps, it's just like, this is trash. This is absolutely not. So, but like minimum one, or like can't even close.
All right. I've got a couple specific examples I want to ask about.
Okay.
So I know we talked about Tyler's sort of obsession with label condition, but so this may be a Johnny question, but is there like a percentage of label that you are you have a requirement for, as far as having it be okay to check the box? Like if like 25% of that front label is missing, is that a no-go? Like, is there a hard requirement for you on percentage of label?
So on my labels, I would like the whole label to be there. That's not to say that I don't have a few with like torn labels in there, or like big stickers on them. Or has like, if most of the label is still there and it has like some rental, like there was a previous rental sticker, and it's got like that little like white line tear. Depends where it is too. Like if it's like on the face of a character or on the title, like I need to be able to see the title of the game. It also depends, like I was saying, like where did it fall into the collection? Is it a box filler? Is this like literally something I'm just checking a box and I don't care? It's like Metabots Golf or whatever. Or is this like Zelda? Like obviously my Legend of Zelda for Super Nintendo is beautiful, and there's no way I'm dealing with a damaged label there. But, you know, like Excalibur 20, whatever it is, 2019 or whatever it is.
97?
97? Is that it? Yeah, there's a 9 in there.
I think that's it.
Yeah. So like Excalibur 2097, like, I don't know what that label looks like. It's probably fine, but I'm not thinking about what that label looks like. I'm like never going to open it even.
See, also all your games are complete in box. So all my SNES games, at least, are out on the shelf. So maybe that's why I care more about label condition. But I don't know. But I care about even my box games label condition. I can't, no gouges, no scratches. I could deal with like surface wear that you can only see when you like hold it up to reflecting. But the only games I could think of are like International Superstar Soccer and Hagane are just so hard to find without any edge wear that if it's going to become like a multiple years long quest, or it's going to cost me like $1,000 to just buy it complete in box, I'm not going to do that. Obviously my International Superstar Soccer and Hagane are like as good as I could find them, but they pain me a little, but not enough where I can't just move on past it.
Right.
Also, I guess I could say I wouldn't buy a condition NWC. I said there is a New Leaf cart on eBay that will be done by the time this episode is posted that I am going to try to bid on. And New Leaf is, I guess there was like, were those new old stock ones that are found? So this one has a bunch of edgeware.
Of like in Georgia, some dude found a box of them.
Yeah. So I'm going to bid on this, even though it has some wear. I don't know.
This is the one we talked about, right? Like
we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not horrible. If it was horrible, I wouldn't buy it. But
well, and like those labels, like especially Genesis games and Super Nintendo games, right? Like if you get it from the Mexico factory, then your label looks trashy anyways. So what are you going to do? You know, sometimes it's not even the game's fault. Like, and that's kind of where the scale I don't understand. Like, maybe does the scale at all fall apart for like WADA and them when they like, oh, this came from Mexico? Is this the like? Would they use the argument? Well, this is the nicest Mexico factory label you're gonna find, so you want to pay a premium? That your Majesco title is not gonna be super nice unless you buy this. And I think the answer there might be yes, like because it's the label. I don't think that applies for sealed games, but I think like individual pieces, I think that argument holds water.
People definitely are talking more about like, you know, a cart only game grading anything above a 6 is considered like bananas, right?
Well, and I think that's ridiculous because you could have a game that came right out of a brand new box, was put into a case, and then sat there and was never played. Like,
yeah.
So someone saying that that's instantly a 6 that's bananas to me. Like, get out of here.
So one thing that I'd love to talk about, because I know when we talk about condition, I think just because of the types of collectors that we are, we go right to cart in our head. But I'd love to talk about a little bit about condition requirements for disc games.
Are you talking about a Genesis cartridge-only game, Stefan? Because we better not be talking about that.
Stefan,
no, we all know that
where in my
collecting
collection
cart-only Genesis makes you a monster.
Where is my cart-only collection? When have I ever... Like, this is something I was never, so bite your tongue.
No, but when I'm talking about like when I talk like label conditions and stuff like that, I think I don't think people really even consider disc games.
I just very rarely get to be the elitist on this podcast anymore, so I'm just taking my opportunity right now.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, for one, disc rot. And for the purposes of this conversation, because I think people define disc rot as a lot of different things, we'll just say a disc that has areas of the data layer of the disc that are missing.
Potentially missing, they think.
Right.
Because there's a pip in it. There's a pinhole that they see. My problem is most of these people aren't experts. My favorite on this is I just saw a Reddit thread. I say I just saw, but it was probably a month and a half ago, about disc rot. And someone was showing a game on Reddit, and there was like 10 people like, that's definitely disc rot. And then there was 10 other people like, no, that's fine. You're not even going to know. That might not even be disc rot. And then...
Right, but people also just like when they see physical damage, like, oh, if I took like a pin and like scratched the top label of a CD, and then they go, oh, that's disc rot. No, that's physical damage to the disc. But I for the purposes of this question, like whether or not that is a make or break element for you,
yes, I just want to
lump those in together.
Yeah, well, I just want to clarify that I don't think people know how to properly identify disc rot. And then like when it came down to it, I think this was like a PS2 game. So when somebody was like they're like, there's no such thing. Like, get out of it. Like, we haven't seen it on this console. Or maybe it was a Wii. Oh, it was a Wii U game. And they're like, no, they're like, disc rot doesn't happen on these games. It's got a different layer. Like, so it was just actually damaged. Like the disc.
And like DVDs aren't susceptible and that. Yeah.
Yeah. You should not buy that because it is damaged, but that's not disc rot. Anyways, my point is I don't think.
So that was my question I mean, does this also go back? I guess I'll start with Johnny. Like, does this also go back to, like what game it is? Like if it was like a Rule of Rose that was, and I know that's a hard subject for you personally, but if it was a Rule of Rose with like a scratch in the data layer or something, like are you still, if the deal was right, or is that like is data missing from a game going to be like a breaking point for you?
Well, I don't know. Like I honestly don't know if it matters. I have trouble talking about disc rot, and people are like, yeah, this game doesn't exist. You just bought nothing. You're like, well, if I'm never taking Mr. Domino out of his case, and it's a fine game, if I'm never taking Mr. Domino out of my PlayStation case and playing it, it's like Schrodinger's disc rot, right? Like,
right.
Do I know and do I care? Is anyone ever going to care? Like the argument only gets to be when you're selling it as to how to negotiate it.
Right. And it also reminds me of like people like obsessing over the condition of sealed games. One of the big points like in my head that I have against that whole shenanigan is that like we know that a lot of, like, for instance, the glue that they used for the labels wasn't fucking great. And so, like, there's 100% chance that some of these, like, very high-end, like, sealed, graded games have carts inside them where the label is peeling. And, you know, again, going back to that Schrodinger's disc rod or Schrodinger's peeling label, like, is it, if the game is sealed and graded, like, do you even consider the fact that there may be a game in there that is not as pristine as you would want to believe?
No, if I was buying sealed, I wouldn't even think about it because I'm never going to, again, it comes down to whether I'm actually going to open it or not. So it really only comes down, like, the only time this is a consideration for me is if it's something I think I'm going to play. Now that doesn't mean I'm going out searching for these deals, but for instance, it's funny that this just came up. So I bought Cotton 2 for the Sega Saturn. It's an import. The guy was like, it's got a little pinhole. I don't know if this is disc rot. It could be. So, like, and they were a store. So they were just like, we can't do anything like this. The minute, like, anyone on eBay complains, we take a bath on this, right? So suddenly it was 1/3 of the price of a normal one. And I was like, yeah, I'll gamble on that one. Sure. I put it in my Saturn. It plays fine. You know, there was no issue at all.
Yeah.
I guess I'll chime in, and I'll also say that the people on Reddit who talk about disc rot are absolutely infuriating. If you just, like, go onto the Reddit game collecting and search for disc rot and look at the pictures, you'll find like 5 different issues with discs, and people are like, oh, it's disc rot. No one even knows what disc rot is. I don't know what disc rot is because so many sources have come around and basically told me, oh, this is disc rot. And at least 80% of you guys are wrong. But anyway, I'm not, like, super crazy about conditions of my discs like I am about cartridge labels. Like, I'll scratch discs, I basically have no problem with, because guess what? Every disc has redundancy built in, and especially DVDs and Blu-rays are, like, hard to even scratch. So I don't care about that. CDs are the only thing I would ever have problems with.
Yeah, good luck scratching a Wii U game. That thing is, like, got like an auto paint layer on the bottom of it.
Like, I don't want something that looks like someone took sandpaper to it, but I literally never have issues playing discs. The one disc, I've told this story before because it's the one disc. It was the 3DO Star Control 2. There was a conversation that crashed the game because there was literally a hole in the disc. And it's like, well, all right, I'm going to burn a disc and I'll continue playing the game. So it really doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't want, like, if there was an obvious missing chunk, I would probably just pass on the game. But, like, pinhole stuff, like, I believe eventually, one day, maybe all our CDs are going to die, and you know what? Fucking whatever, I will burn a disc. It's really not that big of a deal. I really mostly want to own the thing. Also, I'm kind of on the same note. I would buy a broken Stadium Events, because I don't care. It's 100% a checkbox game. I obviously want a pretty steep discount if it's broken, but totally would just check that box.
Yeah, me too. If it was like a super discount, sure.
Yeah, my Second Attack, Bomberman Second Attack for N64. I know for a fact it's the only thing in my N64 set that does not work. I know it 100% does not function, but it was like a 90% discount on a game I do not give a about, and that was absolutely a checkbox.
That's weird too, because Nintendo games, like, always work.
Yeah, Stefan, you know what you can do? That is weird. You can send it to WATA, have it graded, don't check the box for testing, and then it'll just be encapsulated forever, and no one will ever know. That's what. If someone ever had a broken Stadium Events, what are they going to do? Sell it as broken? No, they're going to grade it. It's going to be a 6.0 Stadium Events. Man,
look at Tyler working the system. Guys, go out. Hot tip from Collector's Quest: buy broken shit. Get it as long as it looks nice. Get it graded. Sell it. No big deal. No one's ever playing it. Boom.
Not your problem anymore, brah.
Yeah, like, oh, are you worried about disc rot? Send it to fucking WATA, bro. Who cares? Never worrying about it.
They'll grade disc-only games.
Yeah, they will.
So, I just realized, now that we've been talking about disc rot for 10 minutes, that we fell into the trap that we always fall into on this podcast by not defining the thing we're talking about. Would anyone like to actually take a shot at telling the audience what disc rot is?
You did. You said it's like an imperfection in the data layer. So disc rot is something that over the course of time that happens to physical disc media where the data layer dissolves, just goes into nothingness.
Yeah, basically the allegation is that back when they were first starting to manufacture CDs, they basically made them out of garbage compared to what we make them out of now. And that over time there is a change in the chemical composition of the medium, and that it produces actual holes in the data layer.
Yeah, so and that's like the chemical bonding they used on the bottom of the surface of the disk, like, just evaporates. And look, chemical layers do wear off. Some people think disk rot can be from over time. It can be from being played. It can be from, there's theories on like which systems had stronger lasers, which therefore produced more disk rot. Like, there's a lot going on. It's not like it's not real, right? And there's like a lot of media that's just going to forever go away that is not protected. I think Tyler and I talked about this. Maybe we all talked about it. We did a disk rot episode once. So I don't remember where. Was that just in a mailbag, Tyler? Or did we sit down and talk about disk rot?
I don't remember that conversation. I wouldn't listen to us on disk rot. Don't listen to anyone on the internet on disk rot. Listen to physicists and material scientists, because there are some people that are like crying the end of the world. They're like, in 10 years, you're not going to be able to play any of your PlayStation games anyway. And it's like, where are you getting that information? Literally every PlayStation game I've ever put into a PlayStation plays just fine. And if you look at magnetic media, which is much more prone to just evaporating into nothing than CDs, at least in the moment, 9 out of 10 of my floppy disks boot up the first time. And probably some of the ones that don't boot up, I can get like one of those really fancy floppy drives that looks deep with physics into the disk somehow and recover it somehow. So I am not at all worried about my games evaporating into nothing. The least of which is because I have 10,000 games and 9,500 of them I will never play.
Yep. So what about you, Stefan? Do you care? Because you keep asking the question, but did you answer it?
Yeah. I like pinholes, never bother me. I'm more concerned about like large scratches, that kind of thing. Like if it's the difference between like, oh, like something in like where the audio tracks probably are, like if it's just going to be like a song that might skip or something like that, that's going to bother me a lot less than like something that's going to like damage or like make it unplayable. But again, like I think all of us have been saying that it depends on whether or not it's a game that I feel like I'm going to play, and the value of the game, and in relation to whatever the cost for the item actually was. So like if I did get like Kuon, I am never going to play that game in my life.
Well, I don't know why. It's like not a terrible game. That's
but. Well, for one thing, I'm just not a horror guy, but
that's true.
Just like I wouldn't play Fatal Frame, even though like I know that's a good game. But if I got like a copy of Kuon that was like severely damaged or had like a significant scratch in it, that made the game unplayable, I'd take it for a checkbox if the price was right.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to that. Let me flip this over to you guys on something different, but in the same area. And some people use this as speculation to why disk rot can happen more often or less often. Resurfaced disks. What's your guys' take on resurfaced disks?
I don't mind resurface. If they're using a quality resurfacer, it doesn't bother me. If I can like look at the surface of a disk and go, that motherfucker was resurfaced, then no, I'm not super into it. Like I actually did return was Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where the guy had said he said it was resurfaced, but then like looking at it, like you saw like the passes on the surface of the disc, like it was obviously resurfaced. Whereas there are a number of higher end resurfacers that it's much more difficult to tell. So.
I'll take a scratched disc over a resurfaced disc 10 out of 10 times. Yep. Because if a disc has been resurfaced, that means that it probably had an issue where it was significant enough to cause gameplay problems. And I know there are weird people who just resurface everything because they want it shiny. But when I see resurfaced disc, I think this disc had a problem.
There's plenty of game stores that do that.
Gross.
Yeah, and like there's those like $10 hand crank nonsense, and then there's like a $200 JFJ Easy Pro that everyone's game store has, and then there's the actual nice like Azura disc, like industrial machines that will actually do the correct job, and no one is sending away their discs to Azura disc. They're going to a JFJ Easy Pro. I just don't want to deal with it. Again, I'm not super picky on condition of my discs, but if you tell me it's been resurfaced, I'd probably pass.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I'm hard
so
against. It's like a weird thing I'm hard against.
Interesting.
Yeah, like please don't resurface this because I don't trust your competency, like Tyler was saying. That's the main issue. Also, I don't please don't make it part of your stock thing. Like when you take in games, like let it be a service that people request that you'll do it for them if they want, but don't just blanket do it because it also comes into this weird thing where the game has been altered, right? It's like if you had the correct cardboard, would I want you to lay down, let's say you had a tape strip or something, an adhere strip that would be identical to the black cardboard of a Super Nintendo box. And you could just lay it over a scratch and then peel up a little sticker and then that scratch would be filled in. Would I want you to do that? No, I would not. I don't want you to retouch my stuff. I'll take it as it is. Please don't alter my items.
Yeah. Restoration should always be the decision of the buyer.
Yeah. And that I'm
totally
100% against restoration. I sent you that thing in the high end thread where someone asked if they should.
Yeah, I figured this is why you were talking about it.
Well, no, this just in general, are you crazy? Should my very expensive game has a bad label. Should I'm going to sell it. Should I put a nice label on it? I mean, I'll give them the old bad label, but I should put a nice label on it, right? I'm sorry.
I've seen that kind of thinking for at least 15 years.
Yeah, and I don't
understand it. Are these people keeping the real label? Next, it makes no sense to me. The mental gymnastics you have to go through to have I have a fake label on this game, but I also have the real shitty label.
Well, no, here's what it is, Tyler. They go, I want to make more money on this premium item. So how can I do that and not look like a scumbag that I actually am?
Yeah,
I need to not be a scumbag.
It doesn't make sense, but in my head, the only time that I could see a scenario like that, taking place where I wasn't how the hell would you ever think this was okay, is if it was someone coming from a different hobby in which restoration is accepted, I don't know, furniture repair. There are certain hobbies in which restoration is not as frowned upon as it is in, say, games.
I'm a German clockmaker. I replace gears because the clock. What? No, get out of here.
Right. That's the only time that I would say oh, okay, I understand why you're asking that question, but I'm sure those people are few and far between.
Yeah. No restoration. I don't know what the take-in on comics is. I know there's a restoration community there because you kind of have to, I guess. But I'm not for it, and especially on something dumb like the bottom of the disc. Please don't. Leave it alone.
So in that similar vein, and again going back to the disc-based games, we all know how notoriously bad the big box CD games are. The plastic shells that for early PS1 or Sega Saturn. There is now a boom in. Or I'm not even gonna say boom, but a surge in popularity of wholesale replacement cases for things like Saturn and Sega CD. So, what do you guys think about that? Would you want your if the front face of something is shattered, would you think about adding a completely reproduction hard case for a game like Sega CD or Sega Saturn to your collection?
No, that is madness. That was so. To be clear, there was just some guy who got the molds made in China, and then simultaneously, Limited Run Games was doing the same thing, and they got the Saturn games reproduced, the cat cases reproduced as well, right? And so that first guy made 2 runs. He had one run that was complete dog shit. And then I think he made a better run. I wasn't really paying attention to it. This was a couple years ago at least.
Yeah, 2 years.
So this guy announcing that he was making supposedly at the time there were going to be completely two spec Saturn and Sega CD replacement cases is one of the things that lit a fire under my ass to finish those sets in the condition I wanted as fast as possible, because I did not want to be buying into a market that's full of reproduction cases. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like that's a nightmare now. Like, you can, if you're buying a Panzer Dragoon Saga, like, you have to ask, like, is this the original case? And like, if the person doesn't know, you have to know the difference between the limited run games case and the original case, which thankfully, if you feel the plastic between, they're like night and day. It's completely obvious if you have a replacement case right now.
Sure, but that's something that you would find out after you bought it.
Yeah, like I don't want to deal with that world. That's just nonsense to me. Even like I don't replace the jewel cases on a PlayStation game with like I don't go and buy a lot of 100 reproduction jewel cases, or not reproduction, I guess they're just jewel cases, because the quality of any jewel case produced in the last 20 years is not the same as the quality of the jewel cases from the 90s. So what you have to do in that case, you have to go to Goodwill and you buy up all their NSYNC CDs, and they'll be the same Sony jewel cases, and you can replace your CDs with those cases, but nothing new. All the new stuff is garbage.
That's accurate on the CD cases. I don't know how I feel about the Saturn cases, honestly, because they're so bad and so many of them. It's not like a Nintendo box where the box is just kind of bad and it sits there. Some of them actually deteriorate to the point of non-use. You know, they become shards of plastic garbage. So I'm okay with reproductions of those cases existing. I'm okay with you buying and using them, like, mentally. Like, I get that this is more a necessity than you want. And I don't consider the plastic shell to be pertinent material, you know, because it's not like the box of the game. The manual, the back art, and the disc are the actual true thing. The case is just like a shitty thing they made. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Yeah, so I don't like.
So I'm with you on that. I don't like look down at you if you like, well, this isn't really part of the game. I'm just going to replace it because I want it to be better. Like, if you're replacing your little Samson label with a reproduction label, I'm like, yeah, no, you're a fake collector nonsense person. Yes. Like, if you're replacing jewel cases, like, I don't look down on you for that.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of I just want to draw that line. Like, I want my cases to be as original as possible, but, you know, I can see it. Like, what if I moved and like a heavy box fell on my Saturn games or something, and all the cases just turned to dust?
Or if there was a light breeze.
Yeah, you know, a stiff wind, and the fan. I turned the fan on, and like, the other thing you have to look at for Saturn cases, and most people don't do this, is a lot of people replace them with Sega CD cases because Sega CD was so much cheaper for a while, and those cases are not exactly the same either. So, like, people. I don't, like, most people don't even know if they have original cases, or if they have ones that were PlayStation cases or Sega CD cases. They just don't know.
So there's different sized holes for the hinges, and then the tops and bottoms of the boxes have these tiny little holes. I don't even know what their purpose is, but they're different between different games. So if people ever start to analyze like Saturn and Sega CD like they do NES black box, like, the variants are probably insane.
You'll never know unless you look at a sealed collection of Saturn games, because
they're out there. Someone go look at them.
Like,
I used to be able to go on eBay and just get a sealed copy of Shining Force CD. They were there forever.
No, they weren't. Get out of here.
They definitely were. In the 2000s?
Well, in the 2000s, sure.
In the year 2000.
That's a Conan
In
O'Brien
1997,
reference.
you just go on eBay, you get a Shining Force CD, Johnny. It's not that hard. God.
In 1997, you probably just walked into Electronics Boutique and bought one.
Babbage's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, so we're at about an hour and a half, and you know, I know my formats, on the rare occasion that I am leading a podcast, is a little bit different. I like to just kind of lob questions at you guys and get your feedback. So before we kind of wrap this up and go into the second portion of the show, is there anything specific related to this topic that you guys would like to talk about that we have not covered yet?
I think I'm okay.
No.
Did we miss anything, Tyler? Condition? Anything weird? Like, we talked about, like, weird exceptions, flaps, you know, disk resurfacing. Those are like kind of my big ones, because I think those are issues everyone deals with. Oh,
Here's one that
I got
bugs
one.
me a lot,
Yeah.
and maybe you guys have a different opinion than I do because I f***ing hate it. Broken teeth on cases for CDs or disc-based games, where it's to the point where it will not hold in your game.
the f***ing worst.
How is that a make or break? Because it drives me batty.
It's insane. I hate it so much, but every time I see it, it's always like, I got to upgrade that one day. And I shove it back in the case and put it on the shelf, and I never upgrade it. Like one day I'll have to fix all that crap, but I don't have time. I don't care about CDs.
That's future Tyler's problem.
Yeah.
for the probably the rare listener that doesn't know what we're talking about, especially early like PS1 cases or CD cases, they had the disc is held together with these little prongs, or held to the case with prongs, and really the earlier ones that had a lot of prongs in there are more prone to breaking. And essentially, if you like break off one or two, that's enough for it to not hold the disc into your case anymore. And it drives me insane. And I see a lot, especially when I was putting together my PS1 long box collection, that I ran into that so often. And some of the, especially PS1 long box, because like some, like for like some of the later long box releases, the layer of the box that holds in the disc is like its own piece. So conceivably you could replace just that piece, I guess. But some of that PS1 long box stuff, like it's genuinely part of the larger case. And so there's no replacing that, I don't think.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's awful, and I hate it. So I wanted to mention it before we move on.
So yeah, I got two other examples real quick. How do you guys feel about replacement cardboard inserts?
I hate them. I don't know how to identify them, so it kind of kills me, but I don't want to buy them.
The only time that I and really I don't like charge a premium for them, but I will buy one if I'm reselling one and just be like, hey, this is a repro, but I hate it when it's rattling around, so like here you go. Is big box Super Nintendo stuff. I will replace, like Earthbound, for instance. I will replace the Earthbound insert if it's missing, just so that the cart doesn't like bang around in that box.
I'm 100% for any of that, so keep going.
Yeah. So that's like I generally, like, I don't necessarily replace all of the inserts in like small box Super Nintendo, where like the cart really doesn't like go places. But there's a lot of or like that's also like generally you can like get I feel like inserts, like actual genuine replacement inserts for like random Super Nintendo games are common enough that you can buy
Are they?
them.
Where can
Actually,
I go?
I don't know that that's still true, honestly.
That's not true. They are hard to find.
Okay, because it used to be true. You could buy them in like you could buy a box of them.
Like I'll just buy any game that's $5 or under just to steal the insert at this point. Because I bought a huge, I'll say huge. It was like 30 games from Instagram, and none of them had the insert. But they were so cheap, like I couldn't pass them up. It was like $7 a game, and they were all complete in box, but with no insert. So now I need like 30 legit Super Nintendo inserts. And I probably got stuff on my shelf that has reproduction inserts. I don't want to add more to the problem, but I don't care enough to like go and like look at everything with a magnifying glass.
I just don't
and
think you're going to find them. So I think you just got to knuckle under and buy them.
And just so it's said, when we're talking about inserts in this case, it's not like we're not talking about registration cards. We're talking about the actual cardboard that holds the game in the box. And so, yeah, the games, I wanted to mention that because I'm going to use the term game-specific insert in a non-conventional way. So things like, again, big box Earthbound, where the insert is specific to that game.
Yeah, Lethal Enforcers.
I will buy a reproduction. Yeah. Or what's that, what's the N64 game that has the miniature?
Gauntlet.
In it. Yeah, Gauntlet. Gauntlet has a game-specific insert for it.
Yep. So does Micro Machines. BT dubs on that, but
again, that's not something that I will ever like try to pass off as being inauthentic. It just bugs me personally. So I will provide it when I sell it. And then if they and I will disclose that it is a reproduction, and if they hate it, they can remove it, and that's not a thing. So But I do personally replace the game specific inserts before I sell them.
So I will say this. I look at those inserts kind of the same way I look at the plastic shells. I don't care because that's not the game. It's just a thing, right? And if you don't have that thing in the box, like when you ship it, you're much more likely to get smushing damage. Same with replacement foam. I don't care about that. That's not actually part of the thing. Would I prefer like 100% authenticity? Yes. And like I will swap parts around like on my Zelda. You guarantee like I've got all original stuff in that and on my Final Fantasies, but I don't care about that. I will take a repro insert rather than no insert. And I think because of rental stores and what happened is like a lot of those things just got tossed. They're gone. They're never coming back. There's not like a warehouse.
Invest in SNES inserts. What? I just perked up.
Yeah.
They're rare. People threw them out.
Yep.
Organic collectability.
Yes. Yeah. That should be the new thing you collect is video game cardboard inserts and foam. And like there's
or the edge covers for Super Nintendo games. Buy those.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I do have a box of like 50 of those. Like when
me too.
when I open up a Super
that's why everyone should buy them.
Yeah, when I buy a Super Nintendo or when I open up a Super Nintendo game, if I ever open it up and it doesn't have one, I reach into the box and put one on. I keep it actually in my office. I'm like, oh, you get one.
Same thing with NES desk covers. I have a box of NES desk covers.
Yeah, like weirdly, Nintendo desk covers. I hate fake Nintendo desk covers just because you can still find
I didn't
the
even
originals.
know there were fake Nintendo dust covers. I just figured there were enough to go around forever.
That's kind of what I'm saying is like those things are prevalent and they exist because they weren't paper, but Super Nintendo ones and the foam, like you just buy those, just buy the repros and live your life better. Like Game Boy, GBA, GBC, original Game Boy, like you're just going to have to own those. I don't have any problem with those. And last one, and I know where we're all going to stand on this, but what's your take on, like, not on the boxes, the UPCs when they're cut out, because there was some promotion, but a lot of PlayStation games and like Sega Saturn games, like, or the reg card was like part of the manual and it's pulled out, those kinds of things, where it's like the back half of the manual, something you never see when displayed, but it's got a little cutout in it. How do you guys feel about those?
I am much less for games, don't care. But for whatever reason, for magazines, I think I'm probably the biggest magazine collector of the three of us.
That's an understatement.
I really care. I really, really, really care. Any sort of I like the players polls in Nintendo Power or order forums or anything, any sort of insert. If that's missing, I'm out. I'm out. But for games, I care less. Although there was like an individual case where it was like Mega Man 8 or whatever it is, 6 for Sega Saturn.
Yeah, it's 8.
Is it 6?
It's 8. It's got the reg card.
I obsessed over that specifically. I don't even know why.
Did you see my Instagram post?
No.
Okay, I made an Instagram post like, hey everybody, does your Mega Man 8 have its reg card? When was the last time you checked? Just to piss people off.
So mine does have the reg card because for whatever reason it was I obsessed over that specific game for whatever reason. But generally, like I said, that doesn't necessarily bother me to have like UPCs or reg cards, that kind of thing, torn out of games. But for magazines, it drives me f***ing crazy.
All right, Tej, what about you?
Yeah, I don't want anything cut out. That sounds like nonsense. I can say, so if I had like a cutout UPC, I would be buying that because it's something I hope to upgrade later. And probably the least fun part of being a video game collector was when I finished my Xbox set and then I had hundreds of games where I bought them and they were probably amazing deals, like less than half price for like a condition problem or a missing manual. And I had to spend the next like 4 months just upgrading Xbox games that I already had. And it was the worst. It was the worst feeling ever. So I just want to get the most complete, nicest thing I can off the bat now. Guys, don't be me. Don't settle. It doesn't matter how good the deal is. forget placeholders with big problems.
That's not true.
Yeah, that happened.
Check a box
that
if
happened-
it's $1.
Yeah, that's the same thing kind of happened to me with GameCube. Is when I did the GameCube set, I bought probably, I'd say, 70 or 80% of that set all at once, but knowing that there was like 80 manuals that were missing, and I hated that. That was the worst. Like, okay, I finished my GameCube set, and now I'm a GameCube manual collector, and this is the worst. Please kill me.
That's why manuals are dumb. Who cares?
Yeah.
All right.
We did it.
That's all I got. So let's shall we move on, Stefan?
Yeah.
Unless you want to lead us somewhere else.
No, I think we can mosey on to the second part of the show, the what you buy and what you play in segment. Johnny, you want to start us off?
It's the second half of the show. Just Stefan, you've done a great job hosting this episode, but it's called the second half of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on, Stefan. Get with us or get out.
That's right. Well, I'm already on thin ice since I wasn't here last.
Yeah. Well, your guest hosting position might be available to others. Just, you better firm it up here.
Although I did, like I said, I did really enjoy. I enjoyed my time tonight, being able to just sort of like lob questions at you guys. Is this what it's like to be you, Johnny? Do you feel like, is this? Because I feel superior to the two of you. Right
Oh, wow. Then, yeah, that's what it's like to be me every day. I'm just kidding.
Johnny, what you buying? What you playing?
Well, I told you I bought that cotton. It came. All the listeners will be excited to know I bought that Yoshi's Woolly World, the pink one, but I failed to get the blue one. It has not arrived yet, unfortunately. I bought a sweet, and I can't believe Stefan isn't more excited about this, and we're not even going to tell everybody, but I got a sweet thing for the Patreon once that ever comes up. Those came in. Don't know why. Like, really weird Stefan's not excited about this. I can't find. I bought that Colin McRae. That was like a super good deal. I bought games. I want to tell you about the dumbest thing I bought. It has not come yet, but I bought some stickers. I bought like SNK stickers, like puffy.
Wow, great!
Like like the puffy stickers from the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah, I bought those, but they're SNK branded ones, and they're like, there's like a bunch of them, but it's got like Akari Warriors and Double Dragon, like Touchdown Fever. They're just stickers of them. And I also bought a Nintendo one it's got like what's it called? The deluxe box, like that Rob image on it, and it's more puffy. It's puffy Nintendo stickers.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
I like weird stuff like that.
I was like, these are kind of cool. I kind of like these. I got like I have one little shelf that has dumb on it, and it's going on the dumb shelf.
See, that's the kind of stuff that I look at now, and I'm like, is this helping me achieve my collecting goals? No, SNK stickers are not helping me achieve my collecting goals.
It was I'll tell you how much I paid for all of my stickers total was $17 total out the door. So
it's a lot like stickers, Johnny. Stamps. You might want to get some video game stamps.
I might. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about all this weird stuff I could buy. And I bought Winter Blast Summer Sports 2 Power Pack for the Nintendo Wii. Yeah, my last double pack. I did it.
Cool.
I did it. I bought a Wii game.
I mean, whatever. Some of those will probably be super hard to find one day. So good job.
I mean, who cares? It's Wii stuff. And I got some Halloween stuff coming in. This would also be a good time to just plug our sponsor, Red the Game Shark. If you don't know Red, you don't know import games. Get all of your import games from Cheap Games. Just contact Red the Game Shark on Instagram. Yeah, that's what I bought. What did I play? I mentioned what I even played. So I played a little bit of Cotton. That's it. That's all I did. I didn't have time for anything else.
Hey, Red, if you're still listening, which you do listen, one of our only friends who listens to the show, I'm still looking for
every time.
I think he doesn't listen. I think it's a scam.
All right, never mind. Red, I'm still looking for the thing I told you to find for me. So come on, get it. Is it my turn? What have I bought?
Sure.
So I probably said this before. So usually at any given time, I have like 40 snipes for just everything because I'm trying to get underpriced anything basically. Like I have all these very generic searches like big box PC game or NES Complete in Box. And I don't always go through like the save search for every NES Complete in Box auction, but like the top, 9 will hit my inbox, and if something catches my eye, I'll be like, oh, that looks nice. Let me throw a bid on that for 20% below market price. And these days, all my bids I get like quadrupled every time. So I have almost no bids on anything. The only thing I've been buying, I think, is PC games. I'm so sorry to say. So I got Full Throttle, which I didn't have, which was a big gap in my LucasArts collection. I got The Amazing Spider-Man by Paragon Software, and I hate to be one of those guys, but it has good box art, and it was only $25, and it has a little 1x1 inch sticker proof of purchase that comes with it, and since collecting, completing my Sega Genesis games, I'm realizing epilepsy warnings, no game has their epilepsy warning. Those were all thrown out. So whenever I see an insert that's super tiny, I'm just like, I gotta buy that game. I'm never going to see the insert again, even if it's for a Spider-Man PC game no one cares about.
So what is the full title of this game?
It's The Amazing Spider-Man, but you'll never find it looking for that. So it's the one by Paragon Software. I think it came out in 1991.
Okay.
Early IBM PC game. It's complete garbage. It's a platformer. And then, do I admit this? So, like I said, I go through every, big box PC game. Pretty much I go through every big box PC game. That's the one category I keep on top of. And I bought Jurassic Park Trespasser, and I feel really bad because a certain Dan told me it's one of the only PC games he was looking for, but it was absolutely the right price, and it was 100% complete. It comes with a soundtrack CD and some other little insert, and it is a hard game to find complete in box. And I bought it. And I feel bad because he also told me about a PS2 game that he was planning on buying one day, and that time he put the seed in my head, maybe that's something that I might want to buy. And there was one on eBay, and I didn't immediately buy it. I gave him 6 months, I think. Maybe it was 3 months. I gave him months. And then after he didn't buy it, after telling me about it, I went and bought that. So that's 2 games I've stolen from our friend Dan Gomez.
I don't know that you really gave to, you didn't tell him it was there either, I'm assuming.
No, he told me it was on eBay. It was a $35 game, and he's like, "Yeah, I got to get that one day. That's a controversial game."
Which one?
I'm not gonna. I don't think he has it yet. I'm not gonna hype it.
Okay. Yeah. Let Dan get it, and then we can.
Yeah, Dan, get on top of it. It's probably hopeless now. This was that was last year, so now it's probably hopeless because it's a PS2 game, because every PS2 game is worth millions. Also, side note, just in case you're not keeping up, I don't know who doesn't keep up with price charting stuff, because I don't. I just see a price every once in a while, and I'm like, what the f***? Kuon, which we mentioned earlier, that's an $800 game now. There's been a couple sales for $1,000 on eBay.
Yeah, this is something I always watch these 3, and Kuon was always kind of second to Rule of Rose, and Haunting Ground surpassed it even for a little while. And now suddenly it's Kuon leaving both of those titles in the dust, racing out to number front. Hope you got your Kuon, because you're not gonna get it unless you want to spend $800 to $1,000 now. Ooh. Seeing
Kuon,
missing
right?
Manuals,
Gross.
Going for $500.
Oh my God, no, don't do it. It's not worth it, kids.
I just want to tell you, Tyler, that Amazing Spider-Man art is actually pretty excellent. It looks like McFarlane art.
I hate being one of those guys who are I bought it for the box art. I'm never going to play. It's so cool. It's a cool box.
It is. Tyler, I'm tempted to buy it.
All right.
Hey, that's the only reason why I own Castlevania on the X68000. That fucking box art is gorgeous.
And you know what? The big box PC NBA Action 98 is a cool box, but the Saturn one isn't. Everyone stopped being like, oh, the Saturn version, first Kobe. Get the PC version, because it's impossible to find, and I know you'll never find it, and I want to torment all you people who are buying sports people on boxes.
You're so rude.
Playing anything?
Minecraft and Flight Simulator, neither of which I'm allowed to talk about according to Johnny.
Yep, for good reason. We lost 7 listeners right there.
That's all right. Just mentioning Flight Simulator.
Yep.
Nice. My turn. You all done there, Tyler?
Okay, here they come. I know he's waiting to.
No. It's not.
I mean, I could talk about the Daher TBM 930 I've been flying. So I've been doing FS Economy, and I've been doing
please.
On-Air Company, which lets you run your own virtual airline within Flight Simulator 2020.
You're gonna wish that I talk more about my the stuff that I buy,
Stefan. Like, I don't know why Tyler makes me feel instantly wrong about just him existing, but you know.
So I didn't. I haven't actually bought. I've been buying things like for my hobby as opposed to like necessarily like art or anything like that. Like I bought 2 scanners since last we spoke. I bought a Fujitsu FI 7160, which is just a
I take it back, Tyler. Keep talking about airport. What? Oh my god!
It's a feed scanner. That's all I'll say. It's a good feed scanner.
Oh yeah,
and then I also
I love
elucidate on a feed scanner if you don't mind, good sir.
It is a scanner in which I can scan multiple pages very quickly.
Through a feed device, I'm assuming at like the front end where you can lay multiple items down and the feeder passes it through rather than a flatbed scanner.
That is accurate.
Okay, cool. Glad I know enough about scanners to participate in this conversation.
Anyway, and I also bought a very nice flatbed scanner, which I desperately needed for the hobby.
I don't.
As far as
needed.
Well, I didn't feel that I was properly equipped to adequately scan things.
One guy got in your head about the DPI, and I think that man was Frank Cifaldi.
Yes, Frank Cifaldi got in my head. That's a little bit different. Like
one random dude on Twitter was like, "What's the DPI on this? 7?"
Yes, the one random dude that's spearheading the like preservation arm of this hobby for everyone.
Now, Johnny, I think a lot of collectors, they kind of settle for the Brother ADS 2700W, but they should really consider the Visioneer Patriot H60 scanner for its higher DPI and greater document capacity.
Tyler, I could not agree with you more. It's like finally someone speaking my language.
Fine. I'll talk about other stuff that I bought that is game related. Actually, guys, I bought a game.
Well, I thought you were selling all your video games.
No, I had put together my Longbox PS1 collection, and I'd finished, and except for the manual for Tecmo World Golf, and that had been bothering me. So a Tecmo World Golf that was complete came up on eBay, and I sniped that.
Nice.
So yeah, I bought a game.
You probably screwed over like 6 people because everyone wants PS1 Longbox. So congratulations for completing it and leaving that chaotic market.
Yay!
Yeah. PS1 long box is so stupid versus like the jewel case one. Like Mortal Kombat 3 jewel case, welcome to $800 if you're lucky. Tecmo World Golf, like $125 game long box. Jewel case, $16. What the hell is going on in this market? They can't even decide what they're doing. I can't get behind this.
The one art purchase I did make, it wasn't actually a purchase, it was a trade. I traded for they did in Nintendo Power, they did a run of, it was just a single issue, but it was 24 pages of a Metroid Prime comic. And I traded for all 24 pages of that comic.
Cool.
So that was very, very cool. I was excited about that.
That's actually very cool.
Yeah.
You know, I love me some Metroid.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty excited. And that property is also very difficult to find art for, specifically. So anything Samus related, I'm like, yep, I need that. As it pertains to the magazine, because I only collect art for the magazine.
And that's the best Metroid game.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, you're agreeing with that? All right, sweet.
Hot take.
No one ever agrees with that. Maybe millennials.
Whoa. You think, hold on. You think Metroid Prime is better than...
No,
like
I wasn't actually listening to what Tyler was saying,
no,
as I
either
often
one
don't.
Of you
I was
maniacs.
Metroid Prime is a better version of Super Metroid.
I was acknowledging that Tyler existed, and I was moving on.
Metroid Prime is a... What?
It's in my top 5 games of all time.
Look, I mean, Metroid Prime is Metroid Prime is an amazing game, and took a 2D adventure game that especially when Castlevania had failed, in the Metroidvania half of that, like, you didn't think it could be done, and Metroid Prime came and made a game that was impossibly great. So I'm not going to sit here and shit on Metroid Prime ever, because I think it's probably in my top 20 games somewhere. But
sure, but Super Metroid is one of the greatest games ever made.
Well, weirdly, like Super Metroid I think is great, but I think I like Metroid Zero Mission better than Super Metroid.
Huh.
All right, get the out with your weirder opinions than mine. I don't know about... That's weirder than my opinion.
Because, you have to remember, I have a lot of nostalgia for the original Metroid, so it basically took the original Metroid and the things that were frustrating about the original Metroid and then made them Super Metroid. So, like, you finally had a map and you could shoot diagonal and you just had, like, all this extra stuff.
I'm just going to guess that there weren't, like, 4 rooms stacked on each other with the exact same layout that were extremely confusing. I don't remember Zero Mission. I did play it.
Oh, Zero Mission is just one of the best Metroids. It's amazing. It's better than the original Metroid, like, hands down, far and away. Like I said, I think it might be the best Metroid. But, like, I hold that very close to Super Metroid, and I keep Prime just slightly behind those. And then I think it goes Metroid Fusion, and then the original Metroid, and then Metroid 3, and then Metroid Prime 3, and then Metroid Prime 2, and then Other M is somewhere.
Sure. And we didn't even talk about Metroid future. 2 because you forgot about it.
Metroid 2, I would put the new Metroid 2 up there. Huh. Now I have to think about where I put Metroid 2, but I used to not play anything on GBA. I just played it because it's a new release. Man, now I have to rethink my order, Tyler.
Yeah, I know.
Metroid
Basically,
Pinball
the important thing to remember is that during the game drafts, Tyler picked Super Metroid first, and Johnny got really mad. Therefore, Tyler won the game draft.
Tyler, you did not win the game draft. You lost the game draft. Didn't I take your favorite game?
Yeah, you took Ninja Gaiden 3, and it was like retaliatory, but it was like, I won this deal. The crowd is going to like Super Metroid more than Ninja Gaiden 3. Although I should have picked a complete in box at the time. Because I basically lost because I had 100 great cartridges, which if you were on a budget, you should be buying cartridges, and no one took that into consideration. They're just like, which of these would I take right now because I want to have all these games in my collection?
Well, the premise of that episode, and we'll be redoing it, was which is the better collection? And they looked at your pile of garbage and they said, no, thank you. It's got a lot of good games in there, but why didn't you put some more money behind it, son? Get some upgrades.
Can I just say, I was really excited to, like, come into this episode and, like, send us home in under 2 hours. And, like, that was going to be, like, a feather in my cap. I'm like, yeah, I did it. I was the one who brought in a short episode. And now we're sitting here, and there's no way that we're going to make the 2-hour mark, and I am sad.
Just so you know, I'm just stalling to make sure we're well over 2 hours. Tyler and I did deliver an episode under 2 hours.
Oh, the last one?
Yep.
Oh, cool. The buy that I wanted to shout out because it was a Instagram friend was the one who directed me at it. Weekend Gamer, Brittany Grashel, who, congratulations, Brittany, on your newborn. She pointed me at a Nintendo Technician jacket, which is, if you've ever seen, it's on my Instagram if anyone wants to go look, but if you've ever seen a Gameplay Counselor jacket, it looks very much like that, but instead of Gameplay Counselor on the back, it says Technician. It was just a piece that I had been missing, and she found that on OfferUp and pointed me at it, and I picked that up, so I'm really excited for that.
You found that on OfferUp? So I thought you were just posting a picture of it. I didn't realize you found it on OfferUp. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
You know what? Speaking of, just because we're on the topic, there will probably be a new Retro Gem Miner video out, which makes fun of the fact that you collect clothes. Just an offhand joke, but I do have that in there.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you. Look, if we can't make fun of ourselves, who can we make fun of?
Our friends.
Besides everyone, yes. As far as playing, I've been playing WoW a lot. Again, like it's the end of the expansion, so I'm like wrapping up stuff that I feel like I should do before the end of the expansion. But other than that, I'm not really playing anything. I am making room in my life for Baldur's Gate 3 because I am super hyped for that. And so I will be diving in headfirst to the new Baldur's Gate when that comes out toward the end of the month.
Oh my god, is that really that soon? Oh, Ada's gonna want to play that.
I'm looking at the website. It says early access begins September 30th. So I don't know.
Oh, I don't know if I can handle
Stadia early access. I can't wait to play it on my Google Stadia, guys. Right? Right?
What is it? Is it PC only?
Right now it says Stadia and Steam.
Oh man,
I don't know the answer to that question.
Do I have to upgrade my computer to play Baldur's Gate?
There's new GPUs that are just coming out. They look pretty crazy.
I'm not doing anything dumb. I'm not looking for hypergenic physics.
Need some hypergenic physics.
So on their landing page, I see no reference to any console logo at all on their landing page.
It's been a while, PC, but I might have to upgrade you to play
Johnny,
Baldur's
I will
Gate.
say that for Divinity Original Sin 2, which was the last game that Larian made, I built Ada an entire computer to run it because the old, like, kind of on its last legs 2012 computer just was not having it. Yeah, and it is the best computer RPG ever made, so I'm extremely excited for Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, well, do we know Baldur's Gate is the best? Because Baldur's Gate 2 was just the best thing ever.
No, Divinity Original Sin 2, the last Larian game. It is perfect. It's so good.
Didn't it ruin your life?
Path of Exile ruined my life.
Oh, okay.
That is Divinity that's in contention. It's like Diablo 2, Path of Exile, and Divinity, but I think Divinity wins solely because you can go in and out in 50 hours.
Okay.
Tyler only plays games that ruin his life.
Guys, let me tell you about my flight simulator. My airline I've got running.
Nope.
Oh, Tyler just proved us wrong. He also plays games that ruin my life. That's how bad talking about airport simulator games is. All right. I think that's it, right?
I think we're done. I think I have done my duty here, Johnny. I believe I will pass it back to you for the wrap up.
Well, first, guys, you got to tell us where you can find Stefan.
I am on Instagram and YouTube's as Archon1981, but I'm far more active these days on Twitter as Art of NP or Art of Nintendo Power.
All right,
that's about it.
Tyler?
I'm on Instagram. I'm Default Gen. I'm on Video Game Sage, and I'm on YouTube. New Retro Gem Miner video. It's a creative masterpiece, or it's just a completely cringy piece of nonsense. Either way, I love it. So go watch that.
All right, you can find me on Instagram. Barely. Have not been really much on social of any kind, but maybe that will be changing because, October, by the time you guys listen to this, October will be very close, I believe. And it is my favorite time of year. Like, I may have made 2 extra Instagram handles to post other Halloween content because just posting about video games on Halloween isn't quite enough. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition or not. But yeah, you can find me here, JOHNNY_IUCCI. Thank you all for listening and tolerating. I think this episode, there's a lot of tolerating you did. So I applaud your commitment to that. Thanks so much. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.